With me today is Will Thomas. He is the author of The Black Hand, which is the fifth in a series about a Victorian detective. It is also a finalist for the Oklahoma Book Awards of 2009. And they didn't really call them detectives in the Victorian era, did they?
No, they called them private inquiry agents.
And Cyrus Barker is the private inquiry agent, but he has an apprentice who apparently has a gift for storytelling, since he is the one who tells all the stories.
I think that's the fun of the story, his narration. I can't control it, it just comes out.
Well, I've heard many authors say, you know, I was going to do so-and-so, but my character said, no, you're not.
Exactly.
But Thomas, as we've said, has a gift for storytelling, and I think a very intriguing one. It's a little bit wry, but and it is from his point of view. He's a young man who's very impressed with Cyrus Barker, but he also has his own opinion about the cook and the butler. And one of the enjoyable things about this series is the incredibly strange collection that lives in Mr. Barker's house. He seems to pick up odd characters in Victorian England.
Yes, you eventually figure out that a lot of these characters might be in prison right now if it wasn't for him, and Thomas is no exception.
Mm-hmm. And the cook,
yes,
who is not paid, but he's a wonderful cook in any event.
Right, but at the same time, Cyrus Barker has almost no taste buds at all, so he'll just eat anything put in front of him, so
yeah.
That's kind of the fun of it.
Now, this particular book, The Black Hand, I think that may give it away to some people, is concerned, even though it's set in London, it's concerned with the Italian mafia. Yes. But you also bring in the Home Office and Scotland Yard. So did you have to do a lot of research for all of these?
Yes, but that's my favorite part, is doing all the research, whether it's getting online with the Scotland Yard website, for example, or getting in the interlibrary loans from the 1880s and 1890s and seeing what I can find that I've never seen written about before. I could have gone with something circa 1920s, that sort of thing, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go back, so I did research on what it was like actually in Sicily at that time, and that's where I got my information.
Now, you involve an inspector actually from Sicily who's really trying to do something about this. He comes to a rather bad end, but I was impressed. Sicilian government officials who are actually trying to do something about the mafia, but obviously, they started out that way.
Yes, and they're still continuing to this day, but they don't stay around very long, unfortunately.
Right. They tend to come to bad ends, yes, don't they? But the Home Office, now, I was a little bit surprised by the Home Office being involved in that. I mean, that's more spies, and it's eventually ends up with James Bond, obviously not in the Victorian era, but how did they get involved in all of this?
Well, they keep an eye on every group that comes in, and obviously throughout all my stories I tend to focus on specific ethnic groups within the country, and they've got a problem, and one of their problems is that they didn't necessarily have to arrive with passports or anything like that. There was very little paperwork at the time, so there was always groups or individuals coming into the country. And in fact, one piece of information I found out early was that the mafia itself was conceived in London by an exile from Sicily, and he eventually came up with the whole concept and went back to Italy and took over from there.
Well, London, you know, has been for many years a sort of an intellectual city that inspires great thought. It's a shame that guy had to go to London, isn't it? So, well, what new did Cyrus learn in The Black Hand?
Well, the situation with Cyrus is that for one time, he couldn't rely on a lot of the organizations that have helped him in the past, the Freemasons and Scotland Yard and other organizations. So he had to start from scratch to face what he considered to be a threat to the city. And that's actually part of Cyrus's character, that he feels that he's got to solve social issues, not merely singular crimes. Each crime that he faces touches on some element that he's got to solve in London society, not merely a specific case.
Mm-hmm. And that involves him in some pretty dangerous work, too.
Yes, he had to go down to the docks and then get some of his workers from there.
Yeah. Well, what really starts the case is they discover an assassin, and not an accomplice, but a close acquaintance, both in the same barrel that's been fished out of the Thames. You did a wonderful description of describing just how awful that was.
Well, that's actually part of it. You know, when I'm talking about 1880, people have a hard time relating. So if you bring in, unfortunately, the smells, the sights, all the things that have to do with the senses, that's how you can place the person who's reading the story right there on that dock.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the things I enjoy about the books is the way you were able to remind us just how cosmopolitan London was. I think most people think of London as being this huge city, but I'm sure most of us think that only Englishmen lived in London, and that there really wasn't an influx of all kinds of people in the 19th century to create its character.
They always had ethnic groups come in for specific purposes or to fill a void where they were needed. Mm-hmm. And those people tended to stay even when the jobs went away.
Mm-hmm. And they provided Cyrus with wonderful more information. I see him as, he's a private inquiry agent, but he also seems to want to know everything.
Yes.
And maybe that's why you got in that line of work?
I think so. Definitely a curious character.
Right. Now, do you have more adventures for him?
Oh yes, I'm working hard on the sixth book, which will be a little longer than the ones that I've been putting out so far. So it's taking me a little longer to write it, but I'm just enjoying it so much.
Now, are you keeping him in London?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely like to keep him in London.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to have a home base to work from, and you don't have to worry about getting maps of new cities for tracing where somebody went, I guess.
Oh, but that's more research, though. That's the fun part.
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, maybe you should give him a vacation sometime and force yourself to go visit, Venice or Paris. Or
Sounds like a tough job, but I'll do what I can.
I appreciate it, and I look forward to the next book as well.
Great.
Thank you very much for being with us. Will Thomas has been here talking about The Black Hand. You can find it and the other 4 books in the series at your library and your favorite bookstore.